Ladies and gentlemen, a very good day or evening to you wherever you may be. Welcome on board my channel. My name is Thirdculturepilot and I'm a real-life Boeing 737 first officer, usually flying across the skies of Europe thanks to COVID, not as much as I'd like to. However, this also gives me the opportunity to do some challenges here with you guys on YouTube. So a very warm welcome to you guys if you are new on my channel. Today's video is all about the latest landing challenge, which will be an A320 takeoff and landing in the beautiful airport of Lukla in the Himalayas. Quite a challenging setting as we're playing on the highest realism settings that the sim permits. The only changes that I have done are changes to the weight and balance of the aircraft. Basically, we're gonna lift off with 15% of fuel only, as well as only 1% of payload. I will show you this later after we touch down in the settings, so that you can have a look what exactly I used. Anyways, guys, I will guide you through with a slight and little commentary while we're flying away. However, yeah, you will see most of the stuff is quite self-explanatory, but yeah, I'll do my best to guide you through. Now, guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy this flight together with me. Starting off with some beautiful views of Lukla, the identifier Victor November Lima Kilo out of an altitude of 9,337 feet, quite high. But that makes it so exciting. Beautiful setting, as you can see, some nice houses here in Lukla. They've done a good job here. And yeah, aircraft, as you can see, barely fits on the runway. Wingspan is just fine, I'd say. But yeah. First of all, as you can see, I'm turning off the spoiler and elevator computer number 2 here. This actually helped me with the latest glitch. Some of you might have encountered it as well. It is causing the aircraft to roll left or right just before touchdown. And by turning this computer off, it actually fixed that issue for me. Well, you have to control the trim yourself in that mode, but that's still better than having the aircraft roll randomly left or right. As you can see, I'm setting myself a reference altitude of 9,300 feet initially, also a speed of 100 knots, which will be our rotation, and also landing speed later on. And yeah, basically already good to go. This was another issue I had. As you can see, the aircraft doesn't want to move, and I have to hit my brakes and release them a few times before the aircraft actually wants to go. I only managed to fix that issue after this flight, but yeah, in this one, don't mind the struggle. Off we go. Takeoff run starting. As you can see, we are actually fine with the wingspan as long as we're on the center line, so that was okay. Approaching 100 knots very slightly, so 90 knots actually rotation speed, which is crazy. But the aircraft is doing a fantastic job. So I'm just letting the nose drop a little bit so that we're accelerating through to 140 knots before I actually start retracting gear. And now we have enough power to do a strong left turn climbing out of the airport. Trying to maintain somewhat of 165 knots, a standard climb out speed basically. Banking excessively here just because we have not that much of a space. So yeah, using the space that I have available. Already reducing the thrust again now, dropping the gear, because in the end we want to reach 100 knots of approach speed, so we do not have that much room to actually slow down the aircraft again. So I'm starting to configure as early as possible and then to align the aircraft as early as possible with the final here in Lukla. What am I doing now? Basically now just having a look at the setup for the landing. I'm selecting the auto brakes to max. I'm setting the speed to 100 knots again as a reference speed. The auto brake setting, guys, doesn't really matter too much because I was using and applying maximum manual braking, which is always going to be stronger than the automatic setting. However, this is just as a backup and better than having nothing selected here. Now, as you can see, we're turning base here just yeah, roughly 3 miles out of Lukla. Beautiful, beautiful scenery, staying close to the mountain just to have as much distance as possible between me and the airport to correct myself, get the speed on target, and whatever. As you can also see now, we have excessive descent rates as well. That's also due to the configuration, but as you can see, the aircraft is just flying fine. Alright, now I'm staying just above my reference altitude. The threshold is just around these 9,300 feet, that's what I know, so I'm gonna stay slightly above. What I found to be helpful during this approach, as it's quite challenging, is to keep the aircraft a bit higher than usual, just because the slope of the runway might cause you a tail strike upon reaching that runway. So when you approach a bit higher and then flare quite late, it tend to be a bit better. That was just my personal experience. Just try whatever works best for you. Anyway, already 1 mile short final now. As you can see, I'm using some thrust to keep the aircraft at 100, 105 knots, roughly there. I don't want to descend too early, as I told you guys before. So I'm kinda flying here on the backside of the power curve already, so I need a lot of thrust to keep the aircraft flying. You will see I'm gonna give it a strong input just before touchdown again, because once I close the thrust, the aircraft drops rapidly. Now you can see I'm increasing the thrust up to almost 70% just before touchdown. Closing the thrust lever, rough impact, but we're on the runway, is all good. Applying reverse thrust, max manual braking, and you can see the braking performance with the slope up actually works wonders. And there we are, Lukla Airport, and we survived on the highest setting. It was very challenging to find the sweet spot for the approach, guys. I have tried this like 4 or 5 times before I got it right. But yeah, I can really recommend it. It's a nice practice actually, and it was a lot of fun. Just going to show you the settings here real quick as well. As you can see, we are playing on the hardest possible settings in terms of realism. So we have damage turned on in the aircraft, and there's no assisting piloting systems turned on. For the weight and balance, as I mentioned before, very little fuel in the tanks. I mean, we didn't plan on burning much, so here roughly 15% left now after the touchdown, as well as 1% of payload only. And that's basically it, ladies and gentlemen, for our Lukla landing challenge in the A320 today. If you like this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe. It would really mean the world to me. You're also very warmly invited to join one of our next live streams. We're currently flying across the world in our nicer world tour in the A320. We already finished part 11, stopping in the Maldives right now, before we continue onwards towards Thailand actually right now. So guys, you are more than welcome. Please feel free to join. I wish you now a fantastic day or evening wherever you are. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks so much for watching, your Third Culture Pilot.